Welcome to the deep dive. So you're looking to get up to speed on hockey, both kinds, ice and field.
That's the plan. We've got some great material here to unpack where they came from, where they're big now, that sort of thing.
Basically, a quick way to sound like you know your stuff. And it's interesting, they share that core concept, right? Stick, object, goal.
Yeah, but they branch off pretty significantly. Different gear, different playing surfaces, different vibes almost culturally.
And definitely not new. Our sources point to, like, ancient stick and ball stuff.
Hmm.
Egypt, Persia, Greece.
Oh, way back. We're talking thousands of years. There's evidence, artifacts from places like Ethiopia and Iran too.
Wow, so this idea is ancient.
Absolutely. And those early games, they were ground-based, much closer to field hockey, really, than ice hockey. Predates the ice stuff by a long shot.
Okay, makes sense. So where did the modern forms start to, well, emerge? The British Isles seem important.
Hugely important. You've got Irish hurling that's incredibly old, maybe 3,000 years. Then Scottish shinty in the 1600s. English bandy ball.
Bandy ball.
Yeah, sort of an early form. And we can't forget the influence from indigenous games in North America, like from the Mi'kmaq First Nations. All these fed into the modern rules and how the games are played.
Got it. So field hockey first. It looks like it really formalized in England mid to late 1800s.
Exactly. You had clubs forming, like Blackheath in 1861. Then Teddington Hockey Club made some key rule changes.
Ah, like the striking circle.
Yeah.
And standardizing the ball, no hands.
Precisely. That striking circle was a big one, changed how you attack. No more just whacking it from anywhere near the goal. Then proper rules got drafted around 1876, and the Hockey Association formed in 1886.
Gave it structure.
Right. And the British Army actually spread it quite a bit, especially to places like India. It became part of the colonial landscape, really.
Okay, now ice hockey.
Yeah.
The focus shifts across the pond to Canada. Montreal seems key.
Yeah, Montreal is generally seen as the birthplace of the modern organized game, though you still had those British, Irish, and Indigenous influences simmering. McGill University students were involved.
And that first indoor game in 1875 with a wooden block.
That's the one, a flat wooden block, yeah. It was a landmark moment, moving from informal pond hockey to something more structured, indoors.
It's funny, the word hockey itself showed up in print much earlier, didn't it? 1772 in England.
It did, probably referring to a ground-based game back then. But by the 1840s, British newspapers were mentioning ice hockey.
Even reporting a death related to it, sadly.
Yes, which suggests it was becoming a distinct, maybe slightly dangerous activity even then.
So the 19th century sees things really pick up. More play in Canada, thanks partly to British soldiers, that 1875 game.
And then organizations forming. The Amateur Hockey Association of Canada in 1886. Field hockey had its first international match in 1895, too. Momentum was building.
And then the Olympics gave them a huge stage.
Massive. Field hockey got in the Summer Games in 1908. Ice hockey debuted in 1920, also at the Summer Games initially, believe it or not, before moving to the Winter Games in 24.
Global recognition, basically.
Absolutely. That Olympic seal of approval really boosted both sports internationally.
Then came the pros, at least for ice hockey. Early leagues, then the NHA, and finally the NHL in 1917.
Right, the NHL. And it expanded into the U.S. pretty quickly by 1924. That professionalization really shaped North American ice hockey.
Whereas field hockey stayed more amateur, with clubs popping up globally.
Largely, yes. A strong global club structure developed, fostering participation widely, even without that early pro push.
Okay, let's talk popularity now. Ice hockey.
Yeah.
Well, Canada, obviously, it's the winter sport.
It's intrinsically linked to their national identity. Huge in parts of the U.S. too, Northeast, Upper Midwest.
And Europe has its powerhouses.
Oh, yeah. Russia, Sweden, Finland, Czech Republic. Switzerland and Germany are strong too. Latvia and Slovakia have really come on strong as well.
But not everywhere. Norway, less so. And Latin America?
Much less presence there, yeah. Climate plays a role for sure. Interestingly, though, the sources mention a recent dip in youth participation in Canada.
Something to watch. Now, field hockey seems more spread out.
Geographically, yes. Big in Western Europe, South Asia, think India, Pakistan, historically, Southern Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, parts of the U.S. too.
The Netherlands are a powerhouse now, right?
Dominant. But Australia, Germany, England are consistently strong too. It has a really diverse global footprint.
And in the U.S., it's mainly women and girls playing. High school, college.
Primarily, yes. That's a distinct feature of its U.S. presence. And in the U.K., while it's played, it doesn't quite have the same public profile as, say, football or rugby.
Participation numbers. Ice Hockey Canada probably has the most players overall, feeding the NHL.
Stands to reason. You see hubs like the Greater Toronto area producing tons of talent. And in the U.S., states like Minnesota, Michigan, Massachusetts are huge. Think cities like Detroit or even tiny Warroad, Minnesota, and Montreal's history, of course.
Field hockey, you mentioned the Netherlands. Maybe the highest participation rate there?
Quite possibly, yeah. It seems deeply embedded in their sports culture. India obviously has vast numbers of players, but maybe a lower rate relative to their huge population. Australia's strong too.
And specific areas again, like the northeastern U.S. and West Vancouver in Canada.
Definite hotspots.
Okay, shifting gears. Playing these sports, lots of benefits. Physically.
Oh, absolutely. Great cardio, builds muscle strength, works your coordination, balance, agility. Good for weight management, respiratory function too. It's a full workout.
Mentally too, right? Thinking
Yeah.
fast, teamwork.
Definitely. Mental agility, problem solving on the fly, communication, leadership skills pop up, discipline, building confidence. Plus, the stress relief and mood boost from exercise.
But there are downsides. Injuries are a reality.
For sure, both sports carry risks. Sprains, strains, fractures. Ice hockey, obviously, has the added concerns around fighting and concussions. CTE is a serious issue being discussed.
And the cost, especially ice hockey.
Yeah, equipment, ice time, it can be a significant financial barrier. There's also the mental toll of intense competition, the difficulty some athletes face transitioning out of the sport. Maybe not ideal for strongly introverted types in some team settings, and
Well-
sometimes training methods aren't always the best.
Good point. We should also mention there are variations, like roller hockey.
Right, quad and inline skates, and bandy that's on a bigger ice sheet with a ball, and sledge hockey adapting the game for athletes with disabilities.
Shows the versatility of the core idea.
It really does.
And finally, the big international bodies keeping things organized.
You've got the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation, handling the ice side World Championships, Olympics, rules, transfers.
And for field hockey,
That's the FIH, the International Hockey Federation. They govern field hockey and also indoor hockey globally, setting rules and running the major tournaments like the World Cup and the Olympic competition.
okay, so wrapping up this deep dive,
Yeah.
it's clear both ice and field hockey have these really rich, deep histories, and they're still evolving.
Definitely. From ancient games to today's high-speed sports. And they've carved out distinct places on the world map, culturally significant in different ways.
So here's something to chew on. Thinking about those ancient roots, the different surfaces, the variations, what basic human need or desire do you think this whole family of stick and ball sports actually fulfills across all these cultures and environments?
That's a good question. Maybe something about skill, strategy, teamwork, that primal urge to propel an object.
Yeah, and where do they go next? In a world that's getting more connected, more tech-driven, what's the future for ice and field hockey? Anyway, thanks for digging into the history and impact of hockey with us.